to my YouTube channel. And if you're somebody who's just watching for the first time, welcome. I'm Michael Raleigh with Close to My Heart. And today I am going to show you how I created this card. I'm going to focus on stenciling and then also how I raised this so it'd be a little bit thicker without using foam tape. Let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the things that I'm going to use to create that card. The month of September is National Stamping Month, and I have one of our special stamp sets with the thin cuts called All the Best Wishes. It's got a lot of sayings, and it really can coordinate with a lot of different stamp sets to make it masculine, to make it feminine, any kind of notes that you want to get. Also, I've got the thin cuts that go with that, which I've done ahead of time. And then I've pulled out my stencils. This is Stencil Pack 2 from the 2023-24 Essentials Catalog. And it includes 3 stencils. So 2 of these pair together if you want to put them together. Hopefully you can see that. This is a floral, which we're going to use today. And it pairs with this polka dot one, which we're also going to use today. And one of the tips that I was given, and hopefully this is helpful for you, is to figure out which direction fits best with your stencil, and then put a little indicator up in the corner kind of matching, which I've done my initial here. And that way I know when I pick this up and I'm not turning it and spinning it multiple times to get it to match. The third stencil that comes in this is a heart stencil, and hopefully you can see that. Let me see if I grab a piece of cardstock. And what's unique about this stencil is you stencil it in one direction and then you flip it over in the other direction and it makes the other side of the heart. So you have a two-toned heart. I'll play with that in another video so you can see how that works. Today we're going to use the Honey Butter and the Rosy inks. I'm going to use the new pink dots, which feature the new color from Close to My Heart, Rosy, Flamingo, and Ballerina. I think that's it, and we'll get started. So first of all, I'm going to take a piece of the White Daisy cardstock. It's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. This is what I'm going to stencil on. Now, I have found that it's helpful for me to kind of hold my paper or have something underneath. I'm just using kind of a large Post-it note sticky tape here when I stencil. That way I have a little bit of something to grip on and I'm not gripping right on the stencil. Now with this layered stencil, when I was first told about it, the recommendation really was to stencil your centers of the flowers in a light color. Excuse me, I was told to stencil, I had to think about this. Stencil the centers in a dark color, then go over top with a light color. Now you can see I did that a little bit different here. I wasn't gonna be too picky about my center color changing. So even though I did it in Honey Butter, when I put the Rosy over top of it, it tinted it a little bit more of an orange in some places, and I'm okay with that. So we're gonna do that again today. So first here, I'm gonna put this stencil on my card, and I'm actually going straight to the top. If this had a little more room, this might help stick down here. I'm gonna grab my Honey Butter ink. And then I also like to have a little pad of paper that I can tap my ink off so that I know how much ink I'm getting. You can see I've used this one before, but that just makes it so that I know how dark my pieces are going to be, or my ink is going to be. And I'm going to start and just go ahead And this honey butter ink really does come off a little darker, but I'm fine with that because I know that I am going to be doing the pink over top, and I really want the honey butter to show through. It'll kind of turn orange because of the red in the Rosy. Okay, and there is my card to get started. Now let's close up this honey butter ink and bring out the other stencil, and remember I'm going to match this up at the top, and that way all of those centers match up. And I don't have too much to hold on here, but enough that I can get my Rosy out, tap that off a little bit, and then I'm just going to start, and I'm actually going to do this just really lightly. Again, I've got a little bit of ink already on my brush because I've been using it, but I also want to maintain some of that color. And I'm really also enjoying the fact that these flowers can be light and dark, and it's kind of gives a pretty pattern to it. Okay, I feel like I've covered all those areas, so let's pull that back, and that looks great. And see how some are dark and some are light? It's just kind of a fun way to do that. Now, one of the things I love about that first stencil that I used is that you can also use it to create polka dots. So what I've done is taken one of my accent pieces of honey butter cardstock, and I'm just going to put my stencil over top of this, and using my honey butter ink and brush, I'm going to add some polka dots to this piece of paper. Okay, tap that off a little bit, bring that in, and I'm working on getting a few polka dots in there. And it's kind of fun because you could just use this as polka dots. And then I'm going to move this up. I don't have as many big polka dots on there, so I'm going to move this up a little bit. Get some more of the larger polka dots. Re-ink and come back. And you could do this as many times as you'd like to kind of get the look that you want with the polka dots. I might add just one more big one right down here. Kind of being careful not to go off the edge too much, but it just kind of evens out those large polka dots. Okay, that's it for our stenciling. Stenciling has become kind of popular this year, or in the last couple of years. And so you'll see that I have a lot of videos that include stamping and stenciling, which is kind of fun. Okay, let's talk about the sentiment here. So I stamped my sentiment, and we're going to do that in a second, in the Rosy ink. When I went to put it down, it just felt flat on the card. So I started to put foam tape on to elevate it and give it some dimension like I do with many of my cards. And there's a lot of small spaces here. And I thought, okay, this is going to take me forever to do this. So instead of doing it that way, after I stamped this on, and let me get this lined up. Hopefully my head isn't in the camera. There we go. Our best wishes. So what I did is I cut multiple of my die cut, and I am going to glue these together. Now when I did mine, I did 4 originally, which I've cut 4 here. But I'm going to glue these together, and that gives it a little bit of thickness and a little more dimension without having to use that foam tape. So using my glue here, we'll start, And like I said, I'm going to start with 3 this time, and I'll have 2 different cards. One will have 3 and one will have 4, and we'll see if we can tell the difference really in how they go together. Now I know some people will also use fun foam, and they will die cut a piece of fun foam and use that instead of foam tape or instead of stacking their papers on there. That is also an option. This just works really easy for me. I've got a lot of white paper, and I find that I can easily and quickly put this together and create my elements here. Okay, so let's set that aside to dry, and then we have one more thing to stamp. And if you look in at these stamp set, you've got all of these little words that are kind of in a reverse or negative of the stamp. So what you'll get is you'll get the color with the lettering in white. So I love how that looks, and it makes for a fun variety by putting 2 different kinds of fonts or styles together. So I got It's Your Day. I'm going to press that down as I'm stamping, let my ink soak in. I love a new juicy pad. And then just using my microtip scissors, leaving a very fine white line around it, which you are not required to do. Some people like to go right up to the edge. It's a personal preference matter, I think. And here I have the rest of the card sentiment. This really comes together quickly, as you can see. So let's grab my card base right here. Dry that off a little bit, and my adhesive, which is right here. This close to my heart adhesive is repositionable, which I love because I often put something together and then want to adjust how it's come together. It's just a fact of my creative life. Now I created this a little bit bigger so I could put a 1/8 inch border around, and I've got my Rosy strip to go across here. And I put this a little bit slight above center, and then I've got my polka dot piece to go across here. Again, just kind of adding another little pattern or element, but definitely connects the 2 together. Finally, I've got my best wishes. This is 3 different die cuts, and just super easily can now use my adhesive. I could also use that same glue that I had out, and I can add that to my card. Just kind of center it right there. And then I like to put this little sentiment up on foam tape, and it's easy to use foam tape with it, so no need to add multiple layers of paper. You could if you wanted, if you didn't have foam tape. That's a little bit crooked. There we go. Foam tape is not always as forgiving. And then finally, I have my Rosy dots, hearts, and stars. And I'm going to just use these, and I liked the idea that they were polka dots or dots so that I could put them on my polka dot created pattern and have a fun little continuation of that theme. Okay, let me put these side by side here. And looking at these straight up, I can tell, probably because I know, this one is a little bit thicker because it has 4 layers and this has 3. But really this is enough. The 3 layers is plenty. So there you are, another card with our Say It in Style Special. If you have learned something from this video, let me know in the comments below. If there's a question you have also, feel free to let me know. And I appreciate when you subscribe and share this video. Thanks for stopping by.